Good morning and welcome to the USA Cares podcast. I'm your host, Matt Castor. I am joined as always by Alexis Becker. Good morning, Alexis.
Good morning, Matt.
Happy National Artichoke Day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You didn't see that coming, did you?
I did not.
Yeah.
I
don't know
not.
how you celebrate that, but
Guacamole.
Welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. You've had a stint on jury duty, so it's glad to have you back.
Me too. You know, I got a letter from the judge thanking me for my service.
No, you did not.
I did.
They do that?
Apparently ours did.
Wow.
It was great. I felt really...
well, way to go, Jefferson County.
Yeah. Thanks, Judge Chauvin.
Nice.
Shout out.
Very, very good. So, well, way to go.
Thanks.
Good job on fulfilling your civic duty.
Check
Done.
and check.
Yeah. No, don't do that again.
I hope it'll be another 10 years before I have to.
We need you back at work. So, a lot of great things happening right now. I want to make sure before we get too far into this podcast to thank a few people. Let me start with the Chick-fil-A in Lexington, Kentucky, who's stepping up to sponsor some events coming up. Alexis.
Yeah, they've got a golf.
Got a golf outing going on. Yeah. They've got just all kinds of things that they're doing to help. So big shout out to Chick-fil-A.
They're my favorite.
They
Love Chick-fil-A.
Also out there, you've got McClellan Integrated Services, who's helping out around the Lexington area. They just come through for us time and time again.
Indeed.
Roller Dye and Forming, Cushman and Wakefield, Ernst Metals. Ernst Metals is a new sponsor of our Top Golf event going on in Ohio. So a big shout out to Ernst. But just so many wonderful things going on. And then, of course, we have to thank our good friends at the Speakeasy Podcast Network.
Of course. Cannot forget them. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Robert. Thank you for all your help, sir.
Yes.
But these folks really are amazing. They go out of their way to make people sound better, look better, and almost seem like they know what they're doing.
Yeah. I feel like a professional now.
So check them out, speakeasynetwork.com. And just ask for Robert. Ask if he can have a conversation about how he can make your podcast better. So, Alexis, last week we had Stephen Brown on, and we talked a lot about this chapters program. We talked a lot about the Kentucky chapter and what they're hoping to do. But really, these chapters are popping up all over the country.
Yes, they are.
And we've got some new exciting ones coming here very, very soon.
Ooh.
So I'm really excited about that. Maybe one that maybe at an area you might know well. So we'll see.
That sounds intriguing.
I don't want to give anything away, but I'm just saying it might be an area you know well.
Okay.
So, these chapters really are important because they offer community support to our veterans with people who know the communities inside and out. So if you want to learn more, go to usacares.org, click on the chapters, and see where these chapters are and see if there's anything that you might want to be involved in. There's contact information. Every chapter has their email address, so reach out. Let them know you want to be involved or want to get more information, and they can certainly help you do that. If there is not a chapter in your area, let's talk. Let's talk about maybe getting that going. So we have 18 chapters right now, and we're expanding very, very quickly. So.
Cool.
That's all you got. After all that, that's all you got. Okay.
It's exciting. It's exciting to add all these extensions of our mission.
It is. And just a lot of great work being done. The need right now for our veterans is through the roof. Regardless of what branch of service, regardless of what they've done, our requests for housing assistance right now are up over 100%, and the cost to keep people in their homes is up over 250%. As you can imagine, it takes a lot of resources. So we're asking anybody and everybody to please pitch in. Go to usacares.org, become a monthly donor, or just make that one-time pledge. But we could really use your support. Okay, so I'm excited about this today.
Yeah.
We have had lots of people from the Army.
Yes.
We've had some Navy. Mm-hmm. Have we had Air Force yet?
We've had Marines.
We've had Marines. Oh, we work with a Marine every single time with Robert here. So,
I don't know that we've had an Air Force.
This branch is a new one for us, and so I'm super excited. So joining us today is retired First Class Petty Officer Jon Houlberg from the U.S. Coast Guard, and I could not be more excited to hear more about the Coast Guard, hear more about his career. So welcome, Jon.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for being with us today. Really appreciate it. From snowy Traverse City, Michigan.
Yeah, we still have our snow. March and April. Those are the only two questionable months. where we live. It's beautiful days of snow and then beautiful days of sun, maybe some rain. Everything's melty, so everything's in flux.
That's got to be kind of hard for a California kid to be in snowy Michigan, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people do wonder why the hell. But until I visited this place 20 years ago, I would have never thought about visiting, let alone living here someday. But this place is absolutely gorgeous.
It is,
and one of the luxuries of serving, traveling around the country, the world, is really getting to learn people from all over the place, and what makes them unique. And this place is the nicest people I ever met in the country.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really close to Canada, so
well, it is, and Canadians are very friendly people. So, Jon, so we're excited. Yeah, I've never had. We've been doing this podcast for a little bit over a year. We've never had a representative of the Coast Guard on, and so we're excited to talk to you, to learn more about your career. Tell me how you got started. So you mentioned to me that you grew up in California. How did you get started in the Coast Guard, and what was it that really drew you in?
Well, just like anything else, everyone has their own reasons. I was looking for a way to serve, and I wanted to do something that was unique. So I was looking at the Air Force doing pararescue, and I was looking at the Coast Guard being a helicopter rescue swimmer.
Yeah.
And for me, I was just going to college, working down in San Diego, and we're out in the ocean. I'm with a buddy of mine that's in the Navy, and this orange and white helicopter shows up. They're just doing donuts in the sky, continuing up the coast. And I had just got done reading a couple of pretty inspirational books too. So I was at the recruiter's office the next day and joined the next day after that.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Nice. So, regardless of what branch you were going to go into, you were going to fall out of something into water. That's pretty much your commitment. Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome. So for people who don't know what a helicopter rescue swimmer is, describe this job, because it's pretty amazing.
Well, the Coast Guard has a bunch of missions. Our main mission is saving people's lives.
Yeah.
And the most immediate, impactful way to be able to execute that is from the helicopter. So we have air stations around the country and various other places in our territories. And basically 2 pilots, a flight mechanic, which is the hoist operator, and a rescue swimmer go out on every mission. Sometimes we bring in more personnel, but at a minimum, that's what you have. So being a rescue swimmer is unique, because when you go into the water or you deploy down to a point of, the forest by yourself to go find your survivors, you're by yourself. You're doing everything by yourself. So, most other missions you got, in most other services, there's 2 of you or a team, on the ground or in the water.
Well, and I imagine it would be difficult, because I'm sure a lot of the people you're going to assist are kind of panicked, kind of overwhelmed by the situation, and you've got to be the cool head to keep it moving, right?
Yeah, that's right. And with that, there's usually more than just one person in distress. So,
where are some of the places that you've been stationed?
Yeah, so I joined out of California. Boot camp is Cape May, New Jersey. Then I went to a big ship out of San Francisco. Then I went to the air station in San Francisco a year later. School, North Carolina. Graduated. Went to Cape Cod. Sitka, Alaska, Savannah, Georgia, Kodiak, Alaska, and Traverse City.
Wow.
So the water up in Alaska is cold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good thought
It
there.
is. I
Wow.
know.
You just
It
came up with
seems-
that all by
Traverse City.
yourself.
I did. It was, the water there is cold too.
So what was the most memorable station that you had?
Most memorable, either Sitka or Kodiak.
Okay. And were those pretty busy stations for you? Were you working a lot to doing rescues, or is that like, how does that work?
Yeah, Sitka is extremely busy.
Okay.
Because it's right in the middle of Southwest Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a huge chunk of territory, bunch of islands, bunch of villages, and everybody relies heavily on the Coast Guard, especially the air station, when they get into trouble, just because boats can't get to most of those locations. And then Kodiak, Alaska, when the alarm goes off up there, it doesn't happen as frequently as you might think. But when it does go off, it's like the Super Bowl every time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So are those rescues of people on boats, or are those just anywhere near the shoreline, or what kinds of things would you work to resolve?
Yeah, anything from a climber that's trying to climb a 12,000 foot peak called Devil's Thumb in Southeast Alaska, right on the Alaska Canadian border, U.S.-Canadian border. So rescuing someone on the face of a mountain, to a crevasse, to a forest where there's a plane crash, to the ocean, all kinds of stuff.
That's pretty amazing. So I didn't realize the climbers. I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how do you pull somebody off the side of a mountain
In a helicopter.
in a helicopter?
Well,
Yeah.
in the movies, they rappel down and they pick you up and they save you and they fly off into the sunset.
Oh, there you go.
That's what they do, right?
Right. Well, the safest way is, hey, the weather's good, not a lot of high winds. You can just lower basket down. You have communication with them. You can tell them to get their equipment in there. But that doesn't happen that often. Usually a rescue swimmer has to deploy down, assess, triage, and then group people together and then execute how you're going to pick people up. But it's usually at the most just 1-2 people max at a time.
Okay. Was there that one rescue that stands out to you, or one or two that stand out to you as your most memorable, maybe one you're most proud of?
Yeah, sure. So the alarm goes off. I'm in Cape Cod. Pretty big area of responsibility. It's New Jersey up to Maine and 300 miles offshore. So we get the alarm that there's a EPIRB going off. That's basically a beacon that sends your position to the satellite, back down to the Air Force and the Coast Guard, and lets people know you're in distress. Well, now these things are registered to people. So when that alarm goes off, you know who you're going to rescue, and you have some details. Back in the day, you didn't know anything. There's just an alarm going off. And a lot of times these alarms are going off by accident. So we were flying out for this EPIRB, and we were finishing our search. We didn't get any more hits from the beacon going to the satellites. So we thought it was one of those EPIRBs that just fell off the side of a boat, which happens more often than you think. And anyway, we finished up our search. We got told we could return to base. And as a crew, we talked about it and thought, hey, if you guys are comfortable, what if we fly below the ceiling? Ceiling is at 100 feet, which is really low for being 200 miles offshore in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Would you guys feel comfortable flying below the ceiling, checking out that last beacon one more time? And we all said yes. We go down. We're doing a couple of legs on this grid, and we see a beacon going off. We see a strobe light.
Okay. So they're flashing. You see them down in the water. They're flashing at you?
Well, we see flashing in the distance. So we're probably, at first we're probably 10 miles away. So we're flying towards it. I'm taking my helmet off, getting my gear ready. By the time we get close to it, it's really eerie. It's just these big rolling waves, and there's this raft sitting there, but you don't see anybody. There's nobody waving outside the raft, nothing else around. There's no wreckage. There's no oil sheen. So anyway, I deploy down, and I'm swimming towards this raft, trying to use my flashlight to pick up some reflective material. The beacon, that was on top of the raft. I wasn't able to see it from the vantage point I had in the water. So I'm trying to look for some reflective tape just to swim in the right direction. I finally get to the raft, and I climb inside, and I just see these 5 big Portuguese-looking fishermen just hanging out.
Oh my God.
And I was like, hey, how are you guys doing? I mean, you got to break the ice a little bit.
So they're floating in a raft 200 miles off the coast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I could tell just looking over the edge of the raft, none of them had a T-shirt on except for one of them. So they were all shivering. And just asked, all right, does anybody speak English? And they all said, yes, yes. And I'm like, okay. And I asked them, does anybody not speak English? And they said, yes, yes, yes. I said, okay, all right. So now you're just quickly assessing, do I see any injuries? Because they can't talk to me.
Yeah.
I don't see any blood or anything. So I just start taking, one by one, like, okay, this person's the youngest, or this person looks like the most elderly. So I'm just taking these fishermen out one by one. And what made it unique, it was my first rescue that incorporated a lot of people at night. And so managing my own adrenaline to keep my own muscles from shutting down, doing a lot of, all this swimming.
Yeah.
That was the hard part, was just managing that adrenaline.
I'm sure.
And over time, it's funny because the more you do these things, it's just not a big deal. But for me, at that point, it was a big deal.
Well,
so
I'm sure.
I'm swimming with these guys. There's a lot of fighting. The second we get under the rotor wash, they're kicking, they're screaming. So you're using all these pressure point techniques and trying to keep control of them.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't able to talk to them to describe what was going to happen.
Yeah.
They're just getting pulled. They're in the water. They're even more cold. And that rotor wash is thrown around hurricane force winds and water everywhere. So you're just choking on the water until you start getting hoisted up. So swimming each one of these survivors, trying to find the basket. The basket's bouncing all over the place, and getting them in. It just took a lot of energy out of me.
That's amazing.
And by the time I got to the last survivor, he pops out of the raft, and he was the only one that not only he didn't have a shirt on, he didn't have anything on. and he just jumped right on my shoulders. And immediately I'm like, there's no training for this. So I just swim under the water, like, get off of me, buddy. And come back up, get my arms behind him. And I just remember talking to him, even though I knew he didn't understand what I was saying. But I was just like, man, that boat must have went down quick. Because obviously someone sleeps naked here. So
that's great.
So
well, that's got to be
swimming up to the raft, or not the raft, away from the raft, and I swam him to the basket. He goes up, and by the time we all go up and we're flying away, all of that took about 40 minutes. And it took so long because the pilot that was in the right seat that night, he was a newer pilot. Our seasoned pilot was in the left seat. So typically, whatever pilot is in the right, they're the one doing all the hoisting. And this was this pilot's first time ever doing any live hoists at night besides training hoists. So they set themselves up probably a quarter mile away from the raft. So I had to swim a long distance.
Oh, wow.
And they did that so that the pilot would have a reference point and hold the hover safely.
Yeah. Because they can't see it when they're right over it, right?
Yeah, you would think you can just punch in like a GPS like you see on the movies. Like, all right, this helicopter is just going to hold this position.
Right.
And for most military aircraft, it doesn't work like that. You still have to physically hold that using your controls.
Yeah.
And using your instruments. But that's the most dangerous aspect of flying in a helicopter is holding a hoist and being a part of that operation at night over the water.
Did you, in all these rescues, and that's amazing, by the way. I think the work that you and the members of the Coast Guard do is incredible, and the lives that you've saved, and you're really giving life back to people who I can't imagine being on a raft 200 miles out in the ocean that you have much hope of surviving that situation. So that's pretty incredible to see that helicopter come along, I'm sure.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, that is the incredible part. Is imagine being a lot of these people's shoes. I haven't been in their shoes.
Yeah.
I've done training to try to mimic that, but I can only imagine having to ditch your boat middle of the night so quickly. All you have is your raft.
Nothing at all, really.
You have in your pockets, and having no idea if help is coming. So that's crazy.
Do you ever stay in touch with any of these people that you've rescued? Like, have you ever followed, or at least followed some of their stories?
Well, a lot of
I imagine it would be hard,
rescues
but
I did were before there was a lot of social media, or before I even started doing that myself. So most of the time, if there was a kid involved, especially, I would get a contact from the hospital that we would bring him to, and we would follow up. Yeah. And I would hear back from people periodically, people telling me thank you, and staying in touch with them as well. It's pretty cool.
I bet it is. Something your family, I'm sure, is very proud of you for as well. What are the aspects of the Coast Guard that people don't know about? So you're, and this is embarrassing to admit, but all I really know about the Coast Guard is what I've seen on The Deadliest Catch. So and I'm willing to bet that what most people know about the Coast Guard is from movies and from TV and everything else.
Right.
So what is it about the Coast Guard that a lot of people don't know or don't understand?
Well, it was our country's first Navy. Before we had a Navy, we had what was called the Revenue Cutter Service to protect our ships from trading with other countries.
Okay.
Without letting them get antagonized by the French and the British. Mm-hmm. So we came up with this navy of 10 warships to protect our coast, protect our merchants. So that, in combination of our lighthouses, wherever there were large houses around the country, there's usually surf rescue stations that would be multiple people that would go out in a rowboat and save you if your boat hit that rocky point of land.
Okay.
So over time, those two services combined and became the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
And so now the main mission is, saving people, mm-hmm. property, and also taking care of the environment in our Great Lakes and our oceans as well.
So it's something that, I've even seen them here. We're in Louisville, Kentucky, and we've seen them along the Ohio River here in Louisville as well. And just the rivers, I always think of them as ocean, but it's also lakes and rivers, which I hadn't thought about. So pretty incredible, all the work they do.
Roughly 50,000 people total.
Okay.
And that's for all of our, United States, as well as all of our territories from Guam, Puerto Rico. Yeah. And we also have, many rivers like you just mentioned. And lakes that account for that. So it's a lot of units, and it's a lot of people that wear, many hats. So when people from the Navy, for instance, are wondering like, hey, how would my job mix in with the Coast Guard? And it's like, okay, well, this mechanic actually does your job, and he does 3 other jobs that other people would be doing in the Navy. So for every job in the Coast Guard, you're taking on 3 to 4 specialties.
Wow.
Robert's.
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, exactly right.
I was just saying shots fired right there.
Wow.
Take that, Marine. Yeah. No, that's
the
awesome.
Marines, we're always proud to work with other services, but especially the Marines. We during World War II, we got to work really closely with our Marines. All those small boats that you saw bringing Marines to the beaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those were mainly Coast Guard drivers. The Navy didn't know how to drive small boats. That wasn't their specialty. So when they came up with this concept of bringing troops, they went to the Coast Guard and they said, you guys are in charge of this. And so our coasties drove those Marines to go storm those beaches. And also the personnel manning the guns on those small ships, just to protect the Marines with some shots while they're trying to storm the beach. So
incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I had no idea that the Marines and the Coast Guard worked together that well.
I didn't either.
Unbelievable. So so after you have this career, this 20 years in the Coast Guard, you've done all these amazing things. You've done all these rescues, probably felt that adrenaline. It's probably a bit of a rush. And then you retire and you come out of it. What's that transition like?
Man, that's a good question. That's a good question. I was looking forward to continue doing the same kind of work, like for a fire department or air medic service. But once I got to about 15 years in, I knew by the time I hit 20, I needed to do something totally different. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of adrenaline, and it takes a lot of training to stay on point for being able to just go in an instant. And in a lot of these places, like in Alaska, when that alarm would go off, you may not come back for a week or two.
Wow.
So that it takes a lot of dedication. So I was looking forward to just being proud of what I was lucky to be a part of for 20 years and doing something totally different.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a lot of people coming out of the service will try to recreate their service, something as close as they can as in the civilian world as they had in the military. And it seems like so often they're frustrated or disappointed or not finding that sense of purpose that they had before.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also too, people get naturally jaded over times, Yeah. So
absolutely.
That's the hard part. It's, there's a lot of things that the human mind, body goes through. And when you hear things like PTSD, it's good that people are talking more about it now. It's really good. Probably the best thing on earth for our veterans. Yep. And what's good is, because I don't think it's as much as this incident might have caused this or that caused that. It's accumulative,
Yeah.
And then just one day you just hear certain sounds and your anxiety's going through the roof and you're wondering what's going on.
Oh, I'm sure.
Where that happened. Yeah.
And that's something we hear a lot is that kind of that hypervigilance. You describe being ready for that bell to go off, that alarm to go off, and then being ready to go. And I'm sure you're kind of always half asleep when you're sleeping, waiting to hear that alarm go off and being able to go.
Yeah. And when you get older and you do a lot of this stuff, you can go from a crazy night or a crazy day of being very busy. And maybe there was a lot of trauma going along.
Yeah.
And then come home and just shut that off.
Yeah.
And just hug and smile with your kids, and and being able to turn that on and off over time, I think it takes a toll.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There are some people that can manage that just fine. And my heart goes out to them. They could do that their whole life. And I feel like, I could keep doing it too, but I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't bottling up a lot of those emotions.
Sure.
There's only so much compartmentalizing you can do before it explodes and comes out in a different, possibly negative way.
And often it's your family that pays the price.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're handling it well, but
I'm grateful. It was, to me, nothing's cooler than it was a privilege being able to be a part of something where an alarm's going off, you're putting a puzzle together. It's time critical. You only have so much weight. You can only bring so much gear. You go as you're flying. You get more details. So the puzzle changes. And then when you be able to execute that mission safely, faster than expected, and then you're able to save someone's life on top of that.
Yeah.
And come back safely. It's just the coolest feeling on earth.
I bet
and
it is.
The reward is huge. I've had a lot of people say thank you, and I'm sitting there like, no, thank you. Like, thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now? to
so now
in retirement?
My big thing is event promotions. So I'm working with a company out of LA, San Diego, and I'm going to be putting together a big bike festival here in Michigan.
Oh, cool.
Really? Like motorcycles or bicycles?
Bike racing, so bicycles.
Yeah. Awesome. And how many people are you expecting? Like, how is this building up, and what made you want to do this?
Well, this is new.
Yeah.
I haven't told anybody about it yet. So this is a deal that I'm working on with this company, and it looks like both sides are going to agree to everything here within the next few days.
Nice.
And it looks good. But so the first year is the expectations are a little bit lower. We'd be happy to have 1,000 people, but the goal would be over time to get 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 people.
Unbelievable.
Just to do the races and double that with people just coming to the event. So
very nice. That's incredible.
Yeah.
No, we want to learn more about that and hopefully help you promote that too. Sounds like an amazing event.
Thank you.
So,
yeah,
for sure. And what are you doing with your? You've got a shop. It sounds like it's largely online, right? Working with paddleboards.
Yeah, that's right.
So talk about that for a second.
So when I got out of the Coast Guard, I just wanted to continue doing the other aspect of my job, which was getting outside, training with other people. So paddleboarding and paddleboard surfing was relatively new for me. I grew up on the water, continued to work on the water and all that, but I didn't get really into paddleboarding until I moved to Traverse City. So just living here, I saw most people sitting in these kayaks.
Yep.
Getting their butts wet, just sitting there. They're stuck sitting down. You can't do anything else. And to me, life's too short to just sit in a kayak all day on the water.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit better standing up, in my opinion. So just getting people out there to see all the different things you could do with a paddleboard was cool. So I started setting up clinics, doing lessons, doing tours, and then having a shop just to sell them.
That's awesome. What's that website, John? If somebody wants to learn more about your paddleboards or wants to pick one up, where would they go?
Yeah, thanks. It's Fresh Coast Surf Co.com. And we're in Traverse City, Michigan.
Awesome. So definitely check them out. That's incredible. So I think it's great how you've kind of diversified your post-military career into all these different things, from bicycles to paddleboards to you kind of got your hands in everything.
And event promotions.
Yeah, exactly.
Event promotions. Yeah. I'm hustling, I guess. Yeah. But,
got the side hustles are going. That's good.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on it. I was working on my degree, got my paramedic while I was in the Coast Guard, but it's funny. It's funny how things change.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, good. Well, what would you?
How long have you guys been doing this podcast?
Oh, this has been, a little bit over a year now.
It started in December of 2020.
Yeah, and Alexis and I kind of inherited this back about a year ago, and maybe a little bit less than a year ago.
Yeah,
and have taken it over, cool. And it's kind of been interesting because it was a podcast that was really geared towards just talking about USA Cares and the mission we have to reduce the factors that can contribute to veteran suicide. And we would talk about that a lot, but it's quickly become a platform for people to come on and share their stories and share their experiences. And, you mentioned PTSD earlier. In many cases, it's a chance for people to work through some of that and to share those stories and to talk it out. So, we found a lot of healing for a lot of people through this method, not because we're doing anything special, just because we're giving them a microphone and a chance to talk it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Suicide prevention is huge to me. that was, I was around a lot of suicide my whole career, and getting people outside is the biggest thing. Getting people to talk about their experiences is just as important. And
absolutely.
Thank you for doing that.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure.
Finding those outlets, whatever they are, in a positive way, seems to be extremely helpful.
It does.
And therapeutic.
Yep. So I think, I think what you're doing, you know, with these different events and with outdoor sports and encouraging people to get outside is awesome. So I think that does definitely offer some therapeutic benefit. But
thank you, Matt. I call it my yoga. Yeah, absolutely. And when I'm out mountain biking in the forest, that's dirt church.
That's awesome.
I like that.
It is, man.
That's so cool.
That's for people that find their passion in the outdoors. Yeah, getting the adrenaline going. It's all it does is bring peace in mind because you don't have to focus on something that might be holding you down.
Yeah.
Instead, you can just listen, feel, and let your mind kind of get pulled out of that negative energy. You know, if that's what you may be dealing with. And anyway, it's
awesome.
Healthy for the mind and the body. So
Absolutely.
So
I got a couple last questions for you. One,
sure.
What would you tell somebody who's looking at a career in the Coast Guard, somebody who's considering they want to serve, but they want to serve in kind of a unique way? They're looking at the Coast Guard, trying to understand it. What advice would you give them?
Well, I say if you're in high school or college, make sure you stay out of trouble, keep your grades up. Mm-hmm. It's not the easiest service to volunteer for. You can't have anything on your record, and having some college is going to be a bonus. The quotas for a lot of these recruiters, they're really low. So they get to pick and choose who they want to help.
Yeah.
And so if it's not a service that you join if you're not totally into it. You need to give it everything, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And Jon, before we wrap up, is there any last thing you want to make sure you mention?
Well, thanks for what you guys are doing. Your mission. I'd just like to show you guys appreciation for that. And to all of our men and women that are serving now, serving overseas, doing stuff the rest of us at home are clueless about.
Yeah.
Those are the people I think about, because there's a lot of people doing things around the world and we don't have a clue.
Absolutely.
And my heart goes out to them and their families back at home.
Yeah.
So
well said. Jon, this was a real pleasure. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'll stay in touch. Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Enjoy the snow in Michigan.
Thank you. I will.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Well, Alexis, this is great. I've never heard the term dirt church before.
No.
But I'm going to use, I'm totally stealing that. That's fantastic.
Yes.
But, a branch of service that we have not talked a lot about, but is so important. And to people like those 5 Portuguese fishermen who were on a raft out in the ocean, one that they will never forget.
Indeed.
So
and one that no one else will forget.
Absolutely. You know? So now we've touched on all the branches. We've got one left.
Space Force. I'm working on it.
You better get somebody from Space Force on here.
If anybody
Robert, you're going to have to help us
listening.
too. Yeah, we need some Space Force represented.
Are they allowed to talk to us though?
Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. But I think it's cool, and I think Coast Guard is one that is sometimes overlooked, but so vitally important.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was such a specialized.
Yeah, it's really hard to get into.
Yeah. So
they take the best of the best, but big thank you to Jon, and that's pretty incredible the work that he's done in his career. So we are packing this podcast full of guests. We have got a list of guests coming up like you wouldn't believe, and one guest that I'm excited is coming up, and I'm excited about all of them. But this individual, or in particular, is sharing a story that's really hard and it's really powerful, and that's Jessica Buchanan.
Yes.
And Jessica will be joining us here soon. This is really going to be an episode that you're not going to want to miss. If you recall, Jessica was held captive by Somali pirates for several months and rescued by Navy SEALs.
9 months.
9 months.
9 long months. It's a long time.
Unbelievable.
No.
And her story is it'll leave you speechless. It really is incredible. It's been well documented over the years, and we are just honored that she's going to join us here on the USA Cares podcast.
She wrote a book about it, Impossible
Absolutely.
Odds.
And you read it.
I'm reading.
Yeah,
reading.
That's right. So you don't want to miss that. We've got a number of other people coming up, and these are just remarkable folks who are coming on because they want to help other people. They're coming on because they want to further the mission of our military. They want to promote those who have served in the military, and they really want to give back. So a big thank you to all of our guests who are willing to do this week after week. So a few last things. Check out the USA Cares website, usacares.org, for any upcoming events, and there are a lot of them. So don't miss out on that. Not the least of which is our upcoming gala here in Louisville, Kentucky. We've got a golf outing at Valhalla in Louisville, but we also have a number of events happening all around the country, including a Top Golf event coming up just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yes.
So, and I think there's a golf outing in Lexington, working on some stuff in Washington, D.C. There's an event coming up in Austin, Texas, for anybody who's in Texas, called Trace Bravo. That's bullets, barbecue, and bourbon. So if you like eating barbecue, shooting guns, and drinking bourbon,
that's for you.
That's for you. Absolutely. But to everybody who's listening, if this was your first time joining us on the podcast, join us every week. Join us and celebrate the veterans. That means so much to us. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make this part of your weekly routine. But Alexis, anything else to add?
Yeah, follow us on all the social platforms.
Such as?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
We're everywhere. Twitter.
Absolutely.
Yes. We've got a lot of great information that we put out there, and we put the links to this wonderful podcast every Wednesday. So be sure to check us out.
Yep. So look forward to being with you again next week. Big thanks to Jon Houlberg for being our guest today. Thank you, Alexis, as always.
Thank you,
And
Matt.
look forward to talking to you guys next week. Take care.